In 2013, Kenya went to one of its most complex elections. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, fought hard to try to get everything right. In so doing, IEBC requested for a 30 billion shilling budget to conduct the general election. But as we reveal in our Graft Diaries today, the Public Accounts Committee says more than 5.7 shillings cannot be accounted for. Sam Ogina with the third part of our series Graft Diaries.
The electoral body had a monumental task of conducting the most ambitious election in the country. For the first time, Kenyans were voting for 6 individuals, a task that required a colossal budget. Billions of shillings were pumped into the electoral body, but a probe into the agency's expenditure reveals funneling of billions of shillings that cannot be traced. The investigations reveals a staggering 4.69 billion shillings cannot be accounted for. There is no documentary evidence to back up the use of the billions. But according to the report, the accounting officer then, James Oswago, claimed the money was spent at the regional offices for the hire of transport services during the voter registration exercise and the general election. Another 1 billion shillings was used for, get this, training purposes of clerks ahead of the general election on the use of the biometric voter registration and identification kits, plus the electoral transmission of results. But that too cannot be ascertained. There is no paper trail to prove that this sum of money was used for the training purposes. IEBC accounting officer then admitted to this failure, claiming the unsupported expenditure emanated from the regions where the training took place. In conducting the 2013 elections, the PAC report indicates the electoral body's budget overshot by a whopping 2 billion shillings. There was no authority from Treasury sought for the excess expenditure, despite the statutory requirement. The bulk of this amount, capped at 1,987,406,464, was spent on legal fees. Half of the amount has already been paid. But in overshooting its budget, IEBC's accounting officer could not offer any explanation on the excesses. PAC recommends the accounting officer to be held personally accountable for the pilferage. The controversial purchase of the biometric voters' kits was also red-flagged. In the report, the IEBC is faulted for circumventing the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. The report indicates the Commission lacked an approved procurement plan in the purchase of the equipment. The biometric voter registration kits cost the country 6.4 billion shillings in what was termed as a government-to-government deal. Electronic voter identification devices, EVID, were procured at 1.3 billion shillings, only for them to fail to function on the election day. The electronic results transmission system, which collapsed in the middle of relaying the presidential results to the National Tallying Center, cost 25.8 million shillings of taxpayers' money. Over 5 billion shillings lost in a publicly funded institution, money that can be used in financing part of the Kenya's budget, or better yet, repaying the soaring public debt. Ironically, Kenya resorts into foreign borrowing to finance some of its development projects at the expense of feeding the insatiable greed of some of Kenya's civil servants or corrupt individuals. It is the ordinary mwananchi that bears the brunt of repaying this public debt through increased taxation. That is the social ill that corruption causes for a country. Sam Ogina, KTN, Nairobi.